I am here with the fabulous, fantastical Tigers. How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
Doing great.
I'm wonderful. It's so great to have you on and to be here. You have a lot going on. You have a new album. You have an album release party on March 31st. So tell me what we can expect of this new album and at the event.
So the event is going to be at the Attic in Ybor City. That's the Attic at Rock Brothers. It's going to be a really nice sort of fantastical upscale theme. We got some amazing artists from around the Tampa Bay area. We got Shelby Soul. We have Kat the Duchess, who is a wave theory artist. We have Christian Stewart, who's a personal friend of mine and somebody who I go way back in the music scene with. He's from the band Sunshine, so he'll be doing an acoustic solo set there. We have DJ Lele Beats from the Wave Theory roster as well. She'll be on the 1s and 2s, and then it'll be, of course, hosted by the master of ceremony, Mike Mass. Couple other cool things about the event. So we have a custom curated cocktail menu created by Sippin' Pretty Tampa, and the cocktails are going to kind of be like fantastical themed. So we're going to have like a sparkly purple lavender infused drink. We're going to have a more like elegant black old fashioned with gold flakes on the top, and a couple other selections that sort of fit that same theme. So yeah, it's gonna be very cool. That's curated by Sippin' Pretty Tampa, and then of course the whole event is happening thanks to our sponsors, Symphonic Distribution and Dark Door Spirits.
That is, I like am already there in my mind. Like you just painted the best picture. I love that you really think of things in that kind of 360 way. Like it's really a full experience. You're kind of stepping into the world of Fantastical Tigers. That's so cool.
Yeah, we definitely wanted to create like a whole brand associated with our music, right? Because you know it sort of goes beyond just the music, which itself is really good. It's that sort of sultry, lo-fi, electro noir kind of feel, but we wanted to create like a complementary brand to that. And like while our music kind of has depth and seriousness and almost like like touches on a lot of themes like depression and anxiety and things like that, we like to kind of sort of counterbalance that with our personalities, which are sort of fun and cute and like satirical and everything. So we created a very vibrant visual image to go along with the music and sort of counterbalance the emotional weight of the topics of the songs.
You always want to have a cute mentee bee.
Yeah.
That's very true. So your album, which is self-titled Fantastical Tigers, what can we expect from that? How did that kind of come about?
Well, we have actually been composing the songs for this album over the course of a year. So the first EP that we did, we basically, as the pandemic lockdown lifted, we released that and kind of came on the scene. And so we're basically just building off of that sound and trying to keep the same vibes going with our music. We didn't want to like try to reinvent the wheel. We just spent a year writing probably in the neighborhood of like 30 songs and then sort of whittling it down to our 10 favorite songs. That way we could keep the same vibe, keep the same energy, but really just pick some of our favorite songs that we had written over the course of the year. But it still has that same sort of sultry, lo-fi, warm feel to it. A lot of the samples that we use in composition, I run through analog modeled gear to really give it that warmth of like playing it through vinyl or recording to tape. That's kind of how we get that sound. And then, as for the instrumentation, the guitar and bass are all live instrumentation. And then, of course, we got the beautiful angelic vocals of my wife, Lindsay, here. But again, like we kind of tried to, especially with the live instrumentation, really keep it simple, right? Like put a little bit of reverb on it, and just just, let it blend naturally into the mix. So again, yeah, not a lot of changes in our composition style from the first album. We're just kind of building off of what we created there.
I would say though, you can definitely hear professional growth in the new album. So compared to the EP, where you would listen to the new album and you could be like, oh wow,
Yeah, I definitely think it's a step up, both from a writing standpoint, and from a production standpoint, to speak to the writing efforts. Like I said, I mean, we wrote 30 plus songs and whittled it down to the 10 best ones. So you really know that you're getting like cream of the crop there. And then from a production standpoint, I got some feedback from some other producers in the area on our first record. And while it was, really good, I knew that it could be better, right? From a production standpoint. So I really took some time and linked up with a couple of producers in the area to incorporate their feedback, to just take it that one notch up, so that it could be, as good as it possibly could be.
I love that. One of my favorite quotes is from Martha Graham, and she talks about a blessed unrest and a divine dissatisfaction, which I think is something that a lot of artists can relate to, because it's never going to be, you're always going to find like, this is where it could be better, but you have to release, you have to eventually put something out there, but then you
Sure.
that's what keeps you going back, and
right, that's the drive, is that blessed unrest is the drive to like always make it better. And then I don't know if I said this, but we record, produce, mix, and master everything on our record all ourselves, like right here in our home studio. Yeah.
That's amazing. So
yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Well, I was just gonna say, like, the blessed unrest, it can be, like you said, like a pitfall where it becomes this sort of like, oh, and I kind of, to be honest, I almost fell into that a little bit during the last stages of production. I was almost falling into those perfectionist pitfalls. But thanks to her, no, she balances me out. She really does. Like, and like, she's like, it's done. It's done. Just put it out there. And I was like, okay, fine. So.
Yes, so I'm interested in kind of your dynamic, because you're a married couple. You kind of formed Fantastical Tigers during the pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
And were you individually musical prior, or I know Jordan, you had.
Yeah, I would say that we both grew up wanting to do music and that kind of thing. I was always too scared to do it. So I finally was like, well, the world's ending, so I might as well do it now.
Because you have such a gorgeous voice, like you can really perform a song so well. So I think that's just incredible that you're doing it now.
Yeah. And what's cool about us is too, like, so the way that we met was through music. So my brother-in-law was the leader of a praise and worship band in the area and asked me to play bass in the band, and Lindsay was a singer in that band. And so that's actually how we met, was through music. And we have always for years talked about, oh, we should do a project together, like this is cool. But it would always kind of culminate into like jam sessions here and there, or like, we do some acoustic covers and kind of just play around for fun. But then, like she said, once the world ended, we were like, all right, well, there's literally nothing else going around. Like nothing is getting in the way now. We have all the time in the world. We're locked in a house together. So like, let's actually do this,
Now, how has the dynamic worked? Has the dynamic changed at all, or kind of when you're like working together versus when you're just as a husband?
I still like to annoy him.
Yeah. And it's a completely collaborative creation process, right? So my skill set sort of centers around as a producer, right? Taking the idea of a song and fleshing it out into adding structure and instrumentation to it. And she really excels at that raw creativity of that, developing that core idea for the song, lyrics and melodies and things like that. So what happens is it's this just very open, beautiful collaboration where, you know, maybe I'll make a beat and I'll have some guitar and some bass and a few samples, and she'll come in and she'll lay down vocals on it, right? And she'll have a couple of vocal ideas, and I'm like, oh, I really like this, so we'll restructure it. And then other times she has an idea for a song and she puts down a few samples and like some vocals, and I'm like, oh, this is awesome, let me add some bass and some guitar and a few extra samples, rearrange some stuff. So it's 100% collaborative, like
tag
team. Yeah.
That's great. What a wonderful partnership. And
Yeah.
Lindsay, you're also an incredible visual artist.
Thank you.
You know, I know that you have, if you go onto the website, fantasticaltigers.com, it's just like you are stepping into the world again. It's just covered in the purple tiger print, which I love so much. And so I know that you have, like, you know, traditional merch that, you know, you would expect, but there's also kind of other really interesting one of a kind stuff that you have when you go to your shows, and including your art, right?
Yeah, so the artwork, again, like you said, is sort of specifically available at our live shows. You know, just kind of one of those efforts as a local artist to get people to come out, where they can get our apparel online, but if they want to actually have access to those one of a kind limited edition art pieces, they do have to get those from us directly at our shows, and it allows us to engage more with our fans to do that.
I also don't have to ship it, so
Yeah, I mean,
Even
that's
better.
another thing. So yeah, so we have a couple of different visual art pieces. So Lindsay, obviously, she creates some beautiful visual artworks using an artificial intelligence platform. And essentially the way that it works is you input words into the platform. And as you do that, it gives you sort of this like amalgamation of what it thinks you're trying to create. And then the more input that you put into it, the more refined the piece becomes, until you know, have something that you really can say is like your own, that you've created using this software.
To add on to that, you have to also be very specific. So, and you can choose the kind of style that you want. And maybe you can say, I would like to reference this painter or artist, so that it knows what style to create it in. Because if you don't pick any of that or create your settings or anything, it'll just create whatever style, and then you end up with something you're like, oh, that's not really what I wanted.
Yeah. So yeah, it's a very cool platform. And then I myself, I have a pretty nerdy hobby, so I'm really into Dungeons and Dragons.
Yes, I wanted to go into this. Yes.
So yeah, so I'm a dungeon master, and I have amassed, you know, I have a custom gaming table that has a television set inside of it, so that I can project like animated battle maps for the players to play on. I have like a collection of thousands of miniatures, like literally thousands of miniatures. We have a whole game room with just shelves of miniatures everywhere.
Oh my God.
But to build on that, so basically I got into the hobby of 3D printing so that I could amass this collection of miniatures to use in my game. And then when we started Fantastical Tigers, I was like, you know, maybe we could just like print up a couple of tiger themed prints to see if people are like into this. And like everybody loved them. Like it was like this, it was a huge hit with our fans and the people in the area, and we were like, oh my gosh, this is great. So I purchased another like upgraded high quality 3D printer, so that I could do more intricate prints and do a lot more with it. And so now, like, that's a big part of our merchandise that again is available at our live shows, which is 3D printed art. I hand painted or I dye it with alcohol inks. And if you go on our Instagram at Fantastical Tigers, you can take a look at all of the visual art that she creates, as well as the 3D printed art that I create.
Well, it has been so wonderful chatting with you today. I can't thank you enough for joining us. And I'm
thank you so much for having us, man. Really,
please, anytime. I could talk to you all day. But please go check out fantasticaltigers.com. That's where you can find all the information on their new album, the album release party on March 31st, and all of the exciting happenings in the future. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Zach. Really appreciate it.